Hi, Dr. Wright again from Walnut Creek Animal Hospital in Purcell, Oklahoma. We're continuing our series on first aid for the working canine. And this section is going to be a discussion basically about various types of splints that are available and some that you can actually make. There's lots of different things that we've seen utilized for splint making material, from plastic hangers to PVC pipe, etc. But there are some that are on the market that are made specifically, for the purpose of splinting. Every one of them has limitations of their own, but they come in various sizes and shapes. This is called a spoon splint, and ultimately it has little excoriations on the back where you can break these things off and shorten them up, but this would go at the paw. These work well for fractures that are below the elbow, so in the lower front extremity. They're not really applicable to a hind limb because of their straightness, but they come in various sizes. All of them are basically the same shape. So that's a rapid quick splint. There are also the quick splint variety that are made of hard plastic, and they're molded for each leg individually. So this would be, of course, a right front, and this would be a left hind splint, but they're molded to fit all the angulations of the limb. The front side works, or the front splint works fairly well all the way up to the shoulder. So it's a pretty adequate splint for any fracture in the front leg. And they're very, very simple to put on. They're pretty darn cheap. I think these, probably run in the $3 to $6 or $8 range. And you can also cut them or break them at the excoriations to match or to perfectly fit them to your dog. Like I said, very easy to put on. You basically put on a bandage underneath, which would be like a Robert Jones, modified Robert Jones type of bandage with the tape stirrups, like what we've demonstrated in other bandaging videos. And then this would be placed over the top of that, and then we would cover this with our vet wrap. But we'll show in some of these videos how to actually apply these things. But anyways, the lateral quick splints, those are very, very useful and fairly economical. Some people like to make their own splints, and there's a lot of things you can use. We find that aluminum rod stock of various sizes, thicknesses, can be bent and molded to produce several types of splints. This is actually a splint for a front leg called a spica splint, so it goes over the dog's back like what a shepherd's hook would, and then travels down the front leg that's affected, and there's a slight bend at where the elbow would be on the dog. Same way, it gets padded first underneath, then the splint's applied, and this is taped then to the padded limb, and then wrapped with vet wrap, to isolate that front leg of that dog. But that's a spica splint. Pretty easy to make. These are called Schroeder-Thomas splints, and we make them in various sizes. They basically act like a crutch in that it provides the dog a weight-bearing surface for his pelvis, or if it's for the front leg, for the chest, or the axillary region to sit on, where the leg actually drapes through the limb and is taped into this isolating rectangle or circular apparatus. They're a little bit harder to apply, but overall for the front and the hind limb, these things do a pretty good job at isolating the entire limb and allowing the dog some initial support to be able to stand on both hind and front. But there is a little more of a learning curve to building these. These we made also out of just straight aluminum rod stock. And we'll try to show you how to do one of these. There's actually two pieces involved in this type of splint, and the reason we do that is because now we can shorten this portion of it so that we can fit various size dogs with doing that. We just cut the tape and shorten the thing and cut it off if we need to in order to make it all tape back together. But it's fairly safe. It's just a little bit more of a challenge to put on. I like these the best for especially if they're going to be on for a couple of days before we can get to some sort of veterinary facility to have that fracture radiographed and evaluated for repair. So that pretty well wraps. Oh, you'll need, whenever you make these things, you'll probably want to have, this aluminum rod stock costs about $8 per 6-foot stick. And a 6-foot stick is about what it requires to make these type of splints, the Schroeder Thomas. You get 3 or 4 or 5 feet, depending on the size of your dog for the spica splints. But you'll definitely want some type of closed-end wrench. It really helps you on this bigger rod stock to make these bends. Gives you a little more external leverage. But we'll get into that in other videos. So we'll move on to how to make some of these next.